My old grump of grandfather lived in the middle of nowhere. It would take us hours to drive up to his house. I hated visiting him, but my father would drag me there anyways. "It's a nice thing to do," he would say. I didn't hate my grandfather. I hated that he made me do all his yard work whenever I was there. I never had time to sit down and chat. My father and grandfather would always talk in a low whisper when I was around, shutting me out and forgetting about me. They once forgot I was outside during the middle of the winter. I nearly froze to death. That was until my grandfather's darling little cat Hesper came along and snuggled up against me to keep me warm. She was very fluffy and had the cutest little white dot on her nose contrasting with her midnight black fur. I loved her dearly. It was the only thing I looked forward to when I visited. Another day came and my father drove me all the way down. Before I could complain, he got out of the car and opened my grandfather's garage. I got after him and followed, and was handed a rake. "Rake up these leaves and throw them in a pile in the backyard. Don't go too far into the woods," he would say ambiguously. "Yes, sir," I said with a roll of my eyes. I began to do as I was told, knowing this would take forever because of the size of the lawn. I put on some music to listen to and let my mind wander off. I daydreamed stories in my head, imagining myself as some valiant warrior on a quest in search of some sort of treasure. Then I began to imagine myself as an adult, all prim and proper and doing my own things. It wasn't long after I felt something brush the side of my leg. Hesper looked up at me with big green eyes and let out a squeak of a meow. I smiled and scratched her chin. She rolled over onto the ground with a purr, blinking slowly at me. After a while I put the pile of leaves in the backyard and brushed myself off. I checked my watch. It was only noon. Having got so languid so quickly, my curiosity got the better of me as I turned my attention to the woods. What harm could this place possibly do? Hesper noticed me entering towards the woods. She burst out in front of me and hissed, making me stumble back. I scowled, passing by her without another thought. There was something wrong with Hesper. She wasn't a mean cat from what I've seen. I continued to walk with my head forward, looking around at the dead trees. They curled like snakes and reached out to me as if they were reaching out to me. They called my name. I could hear it in the wind. The tiny tintinnabulation ringing in my ears was heavenly. Hesper again appeared, headbutting my leg in the opposite direction. I pet her head, smiling happily. Then I heard a creak. It echoed around the clearing as leaves blew over the ground. I was confused, seeing no sign of anyone but me and Hesper around. She looked terrified, her tail fluffed, her back arched, and her eyes practically black. I looked around, still confused. I then felt something wrap around my leg. I looked down to see a branch sliding around my leg. Its grip tightened, and it yanked me, sending me falling to the ground. I sat up and tried to kick it off, but it dragged me, twisting and turning through roots and trees. I screamed, calling out of help. Hesper was clawing at my jacket to try and stop the thing, but it did nothing. I then saw the grand tree, branches and roots moving as if it were alive. It had no eyes, no mouth, nothing. It looked like any old tree. Then I saw the dark hole leading down beneath it, and I shrieked. I turned to look at Hesper, my body aching in pain as I hit roots and rocks on the ground. I cried out and reached out to her, but there was nothing this little cat could do. I was dragged into the cave, and the darkness enveloped me, my screams echoing through the tunnel as I fell, until the light of the tunnel was no more. I woke up again, and my body ached. I was in pain, unable to move much. I then felt something around my neck pull me, and the light hit my eyes. I opened them, my vision now different from what it was before. There was Hesper, standing right over me. She was big, bigger than she was before. Or was I smaller? "Malloy, wake up," she spoke to me. I shot up, standing on all fours and fur poking out from my neck. I breathed hastily, unsure of what was going on. What happened to me? Where am I? Hesper looked away, her tail flicking, as she led me over to a small puddle. I think it is better if you look at yourself. I leaned over the puddle, and a little black kitten stared back at me. My eyes were still the same blue they were before. I was a cat. Whatever happened in that cave, it turned me into a tiny, helpless kitten. I thought you were dead. Hesper spoke, her gaze fixed on the water. None of whom I saw get consumed by the hollow tree has survived. I need my dad. Please, I need to talk to him. We're not in reality anymore, sweet child. Hesper spoke again, leading me the direction I came. She led me to my grandfather's house and climbed in through the window after crawling her way up a stack of junk. I followed the best I could, stumbling and struggling in my new body. I fell through the window and into my grandfather's house. It was completely wrecked, the walls falling off, cracks and webs in every corner. The furniture was destroyed and displaced. I looked around, my eyes widening as I did. I couldn't believe this. No one is here. I don't know what this place is, Hesper began. Only I know how to get from here to reality. Please take me back. I don't want to be here. Suddenly, the front door opened, and I looked to see a figure standing in the doorway. I happily jumped forward, before being dragged away by Hesper underneath the couch. That's my father. No, it's not. The figure stepped into the house, breathing heavily as it slumped around the room. It shook the ground like an earthquake, and I huddled next to Hesper, with my heart beating against my chest. The feet stopped at the couch, and then turned right towards us. My heartbeat was loud. I could hear it in my ears. The feet then turned away, then out the door. I know the way out, but you must listen to my every word. Hesper scolded, or the darkened will catch you. The darkened? I asked. Hesper lowered her voice, her eyes narrowing. The souls of the lost, searching for life to take their flesh and live once again. One of them might have already gotten to your body. If they did, you'll be stuck like this forever.